okay. But if you don't mind, you keep on referring to just pulling you may guide us. So thank you so much for joining. And I think we are amongst entrepreneurs in this room who have we did a bit of intro at the beginning. Some of them are still in the transition phases. Some of them are already all feet in. We've been discussing some of the challenges around the ecosystem of entrepreneurship in terms of access to funding, governance, when it comes to those barriers that kind of prohibit you to scale up and grow. We've watched your story on social media from More Fire, so we've seen some of the challenges. We don't know all of them. We've seen some of the successes. We don't know all of them. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to also just kind of understand the journey of DJ Spoo, the producer and the musician, the artist, DJ Spoo, the entrepreneur in the industry, in the value chain of beverage production, and building that brand, and the many other aspects of the ecosystem that you play in as a motivational speaker as well, which is quite exciting. I've seen a lot of those clips that get circulated on social media.
What's with the photo?
Shoot the other day about Ingolosiao. Boom, purely one, but that's something I've never seen before. Okay, right, starts walking. It's following the signs. Yo. Maga figure out since man, they've been waiting for him. It was never about the wings, Mfano. It's the fire in you.
So I would like to maybe get me some background, we can share with the audience. We're going to assume nobody knows, but I'm sure everybody does, but we're going to assume nobody knows. And then maybe I'll get into some more critical questions about the journey, particularly when it comes to your brand and building this empire that you've been developing over these years.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Good morning to everybody. We appreciate the opportunity to be amongst like-minded individuals. I always say that if you're not crazy, you're not meant to be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are people that get to be very misunderstood in the beginning of their journey, because for some reason we live inside our heads. This vision is all here, and nobody can really understand it or see it until you start, and the journey unfolds. So thank you very much for the invite. I appreciate it, Mr. Graham. My story started from the music industry. I think just like everybody else, or a lot of people in this room, from the township, Tembisa, in the Eguruleni. When we started out, my passion has always been like radio and music. We wanted to get into the music business, and it was difficult to get signed at the time. I partnered with a gentleman by the name of TK Neza, who's now moved on, and he's in politics now. He's very, very much involved on the ground in the Ekurhuleni region in politics. But at the time, we were just young. I think I just turned 20, 21. TK was like 24, 25. And TK, I was renting in a flat, or let me say a townhouse apartment in Lyndhurst, sharing a room there. Some of you guys who start your careers renting, you would know how it is to rent in those early hours of the morning, and just workshopping your ideas, and just having this dream that one day, you're shining my boys, you know what I mean? That's how it started, and that's where my career started. And TK just came in one day shining, in the early hours of the morning, like, oh God. And we ended up not sleeping until from Aboma 2 until Aboma 7. He basically drew a plan on how we are going to start our own record company and how we're going to take over this industry.
And the community is learning from them. They're learning about risk-taking, because if you're going to invest in social entrepreneurs, you have to be willing to take the risk that comes with it. They're learning about adaptation and iteration, because social entrepreneurs often have to change their approach or their model or their product and tinker with it until they get it just right.
Now, I know it sounds like, obviously because we've done it now, but it sounds crazy at the time, like a 21-year-old and a 25-year-old saying, this is what we're going to do. It's right in there, and I'm like, hey, this man. I think I always attribute my story to how he encouraged me, because as entrepreneurs you do need that support structure. Either it's your business partner, or whether your husband or your best friend, or even if they're not maybe your partner, but just people who are rooting for you. Because the idea in the beginning sounds exciting. This is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do. And then usually as entrepreneurs, we go to the field and then it becomes a different story, right? A couple of months down the line or a year or two down the line, it's like, yo, and this thing is not, what we thought it would be, Yo, that city's the guy type of thing.
Yeah.
So for me, that's where the journey really started, officially. But I think, just like a lot of us here, I call it before, like, we don't necessarily, couldn't buy it, like, it was pies, I only love in the salon, I'm a weekend, say salon, only love me, Bangstira, Mazamane, in store. So I grew up in that sort of a retail environment from Elokshi. And then fast forward to Everett Tech, which is now called UJ, on campus to raise some cash. That's when I started DJing. And to make a bit of cash, I was selling cell phones on campus. And when you guys, I myself putting my chip in, so I was getting campus and so I always sort of unofficially, I've always been an entrepreneur, but I was not aware of it. I would say it officially started that morning when TK came and said, "This is what we're going to do." And workshopping the idea, TK spoke and quality as the records. And then the rest is history. I think we got into the industry and the journey wasn't easy. But I think for the sake of speaking too long, just to give other speakers a chance, maybe I'll unfold the rest of the other stuff as it goes in entrepreneurship. But it started with a record company. It grew into other things, into television, into radio. It grew into people wanting you for endorsements. While people are trying to feel, I think this art culture of entrepreneurship now, which is actually blowing up in the country. Finally, it's a beautiful thing. At that time, it was frustrating because nobody understood it. When people would call me for endorsements, I didn't want to endorse anybody's products. I was thinking long term. I knew that I was not going to be hot in the music industry for too long. Yes, I was hot at the time, but I knew that there's going to be at some point where, what am I going to do when I'm 40? Am I still going to be jumping on stages, rocking crowds? I didn't know, but mentally I knew. Long term, I wanted to get into things that set me up for long term. So every deal or opportunity that would come my way, that's how I would approach it. So some of them would be, quick cash, do the deal, whatever. But I would always try and put myself in a position where I'm able to benefit long term. I think that mindset grew with me all the way up to starting Leadership 2020. We're doing these types of seminars. Some familiar faces in the room, bumped into each other in conferences before. Because the type of space type of ecosystem I've been existing in. Writing books, evolving into more fire, and then now obviously I'm getting into other things, real estate, I'm getting into cannabis manufacturing. But beverages has been the most toughest thing I've ever done.
Get up and you dust yourself, you go to the drawing board, you come up with different strategies to go and encounter or challenge the same opportunity or obstacle differently, or go to the next one or become better. Then that is not failure, that is a lesson, and that's what I've had to go through. If you want to call it failure, I'm not a failure because I've always bounced back, and I've always looked at the mistakes that I've made and I've always tried to become a better person. So if there's one advice I'd like to have been given before starting out is that it's okay to fail, especially when you're young. You guys need to fail. You guys need to learn what works, learn what doesn't work, learn how not to do certain things, because you're still finding yourself. Guys, this is not a race. This is a marathon. This takes time. Like, you don't just come and you don't wake up in a Bugatti.
I can imagine. I think you touched on a very important point, which is evolution of as an entrepreneur. So I think that's something we miss around developing your own sustainability, right? Knowing that what you're doing is just a piece to a bigger puzzle. What you're doing is to evolve, to stretch. Maybe this thing will last maybe 10 years, maybe this thing is a lifelong journey, but how do you move towards it? How do you at least pay my bills for now, And then what's that thing that's gonna really, build that castle, And I think it's an important lesson to be learned when being an entrepreneur, that evolution of your own internal brand or value proposition that needs to be evolving with time, because I think there's certain needs and opportunities that do expire. Am I not audible? Oh, there we go. There's certain opportunities that actually do expire by virtue of time. Some of them are disrupted by technology. And I've always been the view of it, that your best idea, there's usually another better idea out there. So how do you create your own lead time for that best idea at the time? So in other words, to make sure that you're still ahead of the pack when everybody still catches up.
Black Business Council is a confederation of black businesses in South Africa. We are like a COSATU of black business. So we represent organizations such as the Black Management Forum, black lawyers, black accountants, black engineers, NAFCOG, including Samtaco, the biggest transport organization in the country. So those are our members, so we represent them. But our main objective is to ensure that black people are represented as owners in the mainstream economy and as professionals who run the companies that are there.
And I think that's something important to learn around being an entrepreneur. It's difficult to learn because you learn it on the ground. You know, earlier on, and I'll come back to on mentorship, we're discussing around mentors. You know, the people who have obviously shaped you as an entrepreneur with time, but the importance of mentorship and what role that's played. But I'll come back to you on that. Mr. Graham. Colgate smile. I'm so jealous. It's a beautiful smile. If you could please maybe just introduce yourself. You know, I read your profile. It's difficult to introduce you because you know when you talk about serial entrepreneurs, people who have very diverse and have done such great things. It's restaurant business, property development. This financial background, I think it's an amazing, clearly rich expertise that you carry with you. Could you please just give us some background? And ultimately what we'd like to do as well is just get a better sense. I mean, ultimately the messaging here, we're talking about the recovery of the economy. The entrepreneurs here who have maybe been hit hard by COVID, hit hard by just the economic crunch over the past 3 years. You're in property development, so I'm sure there's that industry I know has been hit hard as well, also on the construction side perhaps. So brief background about yourself and just maybe just some lessons or observations around, you know, how you've observed the economic hit and where you're seeing or tackling opportunities in your space.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm Graham Andrews. I'm a Kasi boy. I grew up in Benoni, Waterford. Some of you know Waterford. Yeah, I grew up in Waterford. I speak all 11 South African official languages, plus other few international, so that make me to have access to the economy of other international countries. So my background is it's so broad. I come from law background where when I finished, I have never practiced. Then I remember at some point this guy came to recruit me to say, look, you know what? You just finished your law degree, why don't you join an insurance company? And I said, gee, what's going to be happening there? Then he said, look, you know what? If you join here, I promise every month you're going to be earning 10 grand a month. There's no guarantee in law. And I said, 10 grand a month, that is nothing. You know, but the guy keep on persisting, keep on knocking on my door. And I remember that time I had an opportunity where Unilever SA invited me for an interview, and eventually there was a position there was a position that was set for me. But this guy says, don't go there, you're gonna become a slave of these people. You know, at some point he called me again into his office, and then he says, look, start here. Once you are here, I promise your future is bright. And then, you know, because he's a financial advisor, he showed me some big numbers on the board, and I look at this number and say, gee, I'm going to earn $1 million. How is that possible? And then eventually I joined the guy, then I just left Unilever, and then I joined the guy. That was 2011. So since 2011, I've been on insurance industry. And for the past 10 years, while I was in the insurance company, I've experienced a very, very painful journey where most of my business was based on advising entrepreneurs. And the sad part of my journey while I was there, if maybe go through to my books, I think my books sitting with around 5,000 to 6,000 of clients, half of them are entrepreneurs. And half of those people, they don't know much about investing. They don't know much about putting proper insurance for their business. So these was the journey, most especially so painful because these were our black brothers and black sisters who are in business, but guess what? They don't invest their money. They don't know what proper insurance to put for their business.
When it comes to running a small business, you sometimes have to perform a bit of a balancing act. There are always competing pressures on time and money. But if you overlook your insurance, you could run the risk of expensive legal costs. But how do you know what you need? It depends on lots of factors, such as your annual revenue, your number of employees, and the type of profession you work in. If your business offers any kind of consulting or professional service, then you should seriously consider professional liability insurance. It can cover you if your clients aren't satisfied with your work and decide to sue, which can happen even if you haven't made a mistake. General liability insurance can help you if you're sued following an accident involving clients, contractors, or members of the public. And you might also want to consider business owner insurance, which includes general liability coverage and protection for your business equipment from risks like theft and accidental damage, even if you work from home. Wading through exactly what you need can be an overwhelming process, so it's important to find a specialist insurance provider.
And if you look now where we are today we have experienced a very serious, painful pandemic era that has killed our economy. And the most of the economy that has died is actually coming from the side of entrepreneurs, your SMEs. Remember now, those SMEs are the backbone of our South African economy. We need the SMEs to strive and survive. If the SMEs dies, then the GDP of our country dies also together. So these are the experiences that I've experienced in the insurance journey. And if I can also share with you that while I was building my portfolio in the insurance industry, but what actually kept my mind is to build also a network of people in my side. Because I knew that, you know what, you never know what tomorrow holds for you. So tomorrow I might be kicked out of the insurance. What I'm going to do I have really serious people that I can count on? So I built those kind of network of people. So if I can tell you from the past 10 years, I started to build my wealth within 2016. By 2016, I had my own network of people, whereby that's when the journey started, when I started to embark into property development, whereby I remember at the same time, one of my network was this white guy who was Peter Feldenace. Peter Feldenace was my client at the same time. But I remember I said, hey Graham, you know what, you need to come. I've got this panel of liquidation that I want you to come in. Then I said, liquidation, what's happening then? And he says, no, look, you know what, here I charge properties. Then from there we take these properties into auction. Then I said, oh, okay. What is my role? He says, no, come and advise. And advise us what to do. I didn't even know nothing about it, but I went into that panel. While I was in that panel, I saw an opportunity of a lifetime to say, oh, there are some properties lying here. And these properties, they come from well-known business people who have been so careless with their money. And then now they're losing these properties. That's where I started to come into the property space. And from that space of property, from 2016, I have managed to accumulate assets around the incentive. But that was not the drive, because as a boy, I never dreamed about owning properties in Sente. I always dreamed about, I'm going to build a 2-bedroom house like a Kogwami, and build another 2-bedroom But today I own properties around the Incentive. Even if we all know that, we always heard about this word of penthouses. And I said, gee, people are talking about penthouses, what is that? You thought about penthouses, something else that is different from your house. But so today I own a few penthouses in Centurion. Like I said, oh wow, is this a penthouse? Is this what people actually are chasing? Is this what people are talking about? But yeah, so that was my journey in terms of property development. But it has never stopped there. While these guys, they keep on attaching properties, and some of the properties were coming from our black brothers. And I said, gee, now what to do now if I see a property of a black brother has been attached? Then guess what? I will go and speak to the guy to say, look, you know what? Here your house is going. Let me rather pay for this house. And you continue staying in this house, you pay me rent. In case if you, at some point you start to bounce back in terms of your financials, then you can pay me back my money. But for now, I remain the landlord, I remain the owner of the property. But I still give you opportunity to say, stay in this house without you moving out and being kicked out. So I've managed to accumulate a few houses around Dainfen, Fourways, Pine Slopes, Centurion. So I've built that capacity whereby in those properties, there are people who stays there. Those are the people who were owners of those houses, but I bought them. Then I managed to keep them to say, stay here, rent. Build yourself back again. You are a business person, don't give up. Bounce back, stay here. Because remember now, we as black people have realized what is our biggest mistakes when we are in entrepreneurs, to play big in a small town. That is our biggest mistake. And most especially to share with you to say, guys, in business, there's very much more fundamental aspect that you need to keep in mind to respect the reins and cents. That's very much important.
Many people find financial planning complex and simply choose to put it off. Others may be confused. It's actually pretty simple. Financial planning, simply put, is charting and following a roadmap to get from where you are to where you want to be 10, 15, or 20 years from now. It's like bringing your family for a road trip, your parents, spouse, and of course, the children. You start from getting to know your current financial position. What financial resources or assets do you already have in place? What sort of liabilities do you have, and how much? How's your cash flow position? Is it enough to power your journey? From your financial position, financial ratios can point to areas of attention. Are you saving enough? Are you borrowing too much or too little? Are you paying too much bad debt? Next, you want to know what destinations you want to bring your family. Say, sending your children to university, owning properties giving you rental income, or retiring rich in the Bahamas. Write down those goals and put down the timeline and amount needed. A general roadmap can then be planned out, taking into account the distance, time, and resources needed. Next, determine the optimal asset allocation needed to achieve those goals. It has to match risk and return needs and your loss aversion. It's like choosing a car for the journey, depending if you like to go fast and furious or slow and steady. You may want a Ferrari, a four-wheel drive, or something in between. Given your resources, it may not be realistic to reach all the goals in the time that you have initially planned. In that case, you may need to adjust the goals or adjust your finances, like cutting unnecessary expenses.
No, I think when you both speak, I was now just trying to process, my words, you both done a lot of things, right? And I think I can reflect on my own personal journey. There's also been a lot of things that I shouldn't have even wasted my time, but I did nonetheless. Lessons learned, obviously. But you know what advice can you give around focus? Because obviously you know your own vision, so you know what will add to that vision or not. But what I've also observed, both in our own journey, but with many entrepreneurs I engage with, sometimes there's a lack of focus because and it doesn't seem like there's even a connection to maybe the plan. Bearing in mind as well, people are trying to pay bills, right? So there is that drive to say, listen, I just need to just pay that bill, or worry about the next thing as it comes. But there is power and value in some level of focus. What are the lessons in your journey can you give around, the ability to be able to focus your energies in the right direction? And bearing in mind as well, I'm not opposed to opening multiple businesses or developing multiple ideas. And I believe our energies are infinite, but time is also finite. Our resources are also finite. You've only got so much in networks at times, before you've grown a large network that you guys have. So there's a balance that one needs to strike somewhere. In your journeys, how have you built that for yourselves? So maybe you can start there around developing some form of focus in your business development.
Yeah, I think focus is very important. What you focus on grows. It's energy, right? And we all understand that we're energy beings, and we just frequencies. Whatever you focus on grows, and what you keep on working on. Something. Really push at it, answers what to but the more when somehow. I never thought Graham I'd be working with him now, imagine. But somehow our journeys brought us together. So we are in real estate together as well. But talking about focus and multitasking, the sisters I think are the best at that. You guys are the best at multitasking, right? Running multiple projects. So when I'm coming from an intimate background, I was used to being managed. So I'm already used to working in a team environment. I'm used to being managed. But while I'm being managed, I am on radio, I am on TV, I'm making music, I'm giving talks, and then I started evolving and growing, writing books, and so I do all these different multiple things. But all these different multiple things also require just focus. But what I've done is, the best thing I think I've been able to do is that I'm not good at all these things, but my secret weapon is the people that are behind me. But behind the scenes, when it comes to real estate, I make sure I partner with the best people in that environment, the best people I can find. Let me put it so. Sometimes now, I'm never be easy to get the best brains or the best minds or the best experts in whatever it is. But if you can be able to source those skills somehow. Now, these people are good at what they do, and they must be a part of your team. So there must be some sort of ways in how you can train these people for you to bring them on board, for them to become a part of your team. So real estate, I've got a team. In media, now we're working on opening our third media property. I've got a team of people that I know they're really good at what they do. In beverages, I've got an amazing team. Same thing with Yenza. But into nangizosebenza kuyo ngenza sure ukuthi le nginikeza isikhathi. I'll give you an example. Mufa started going into the market around 2015. We've been workshopping it and studying the idea, research development, the early days from around 2013-14. But when it started going into the market, it was January 26 in 2015. I told myself, because of the numbers and because of the size of the industry in the country and because of the growth of the energy drink category, dala. Mara nawungabheka khona manje abantu abahamba emarenkeni nasemateksini nasemakasi, abantu even constructors, abantu ababuildayo, the builders, and just ordinary people abomama abathengisa emakhoneni. It's no longer like back in the day where uphethe Fanta, uphethe Stony, uphethe Coke, uphethe Pepsi, or khona manje nawubheka, they probably only have a can of Coke when it comes to soft drinks. Yeah. And then they've got like maybe Dragon, Switch, Mofire, But for me to be a part of that group of those cans that are being sold by these people, I had to work really hard. I told myself, Smuda, humble yourself, look at yourself in the mirror and be honest with yourself. And this is me starting Mofire at the time. So I'm living this high life, I'm a celebrity, I've got hit music, I'm on TV, I'm on radio, Metro FM, I'm driving the fastest cars in the country, I'm the man, But I had to look at myself in the mirror and make that decision to say, I have to be honest to myself. Am I going to continue living like this with these expenses every month? Because I always say, report as bank statement. That's why anything of Fluiting about 6 months or 3 months bank statements, because it tells us a lot about your relationship with money. So, me and I'm paying money every month, month to month. But we knew and it was unnecessary. And as an entrepreneur with a dream and a vision of building something new, you know what your energy has to go to this, and every little cent that comes in and goes out has to be accounted for. So after I've done that homework, after I did that homework and I was honest to myself, I looked at myself in the mirror, I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna downgrade. I'm gonna sell everything, I'm gonna get rid of all of this, and I'm gonna get out of this amazing, the man type of lifestyle. I'm gonna go and be an ordinary guy. It's not gonna be easy, I'm a popular person, I'm on TV, nani. I don't know how this journey is gonna pan out for me, but this is the only thing that makes sense, Konamanja, out of me praying about it, fasting about it, speaking to my mentors, speaking to Yorid Lama Bazalbam, my father was still alive at the time. All of these people, because they are the elders, that's the advice they were giving. It was unnecessary, it was unnecessary, you know what I mean? Just the lifestyle I was living was just too extravagant. And I think that's what gives you grand business. Because at some point now, they come and they repossess them, and then who gets an opportunity? So anyway, I went through that, I had to downgrade, and then I had to focus on more fire.
I don't know what that dream is that you have. I don't care how disappointing it might have been as you've been working toward that dream. That dream that you're holding in your mind, that it's possible.
Guys, when you're going to go start your business and build it, you must make sure that everything focuses on it. And it comes into this multitasking thing. I'm just wrapping up my point here. Given some time and say, okay, let's prepare for the next 5 years. In 2015, I think, I'm going to push the pace. I'm But this is after I've done my own due diligence. I've looked at the market. I've looked at the size of the market at the time. I think it was like 4.7 billion, the market of energy drinks in the country at that time. The market is quadrupled. The market is big. I'm sure you guys see more energy drinks now than you did 5 years ago, right? And it just keeps growing. And there's just a new brand in the market every other year, space. And as entrepreneurs, sometimes you don't have to start something new. You don't have to recreate. You can basically copy into already a idea sevenzayo. Kodwa uyenze ngendlela yakho, ube ne-strategy sokuthi lengizoyenza so, ngitoyichuna so. That's what we did. We didn't do anything brilliant. Red Bull is being dominating energy drinks. Red Bull is good at it. Monster is good at it. We basically copied what they're doing because we're inspired by them and said we'll do it in our own way. Kodwa sizoyenza eyabantu abamnyama. And sizoyicommunicate isidaki. And because I was a musician, I'm on TV, so all of that. And immediately, as I was saying earlier, in the beginning it sounds like it's gonna be great and you're gonna be all these multi-millionaires in 3 years' time. This is a amount of, the business plan. Tells you in 3-4 years' time when you're gonna be making these numbers. But then the reality is different. Same thing happened to us, but now 5 years later, we only now slowly starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Then only March again. Let me say that process started happening about 3 years ago. That's when I started launching my own radio station because I got fired on the other side. And this is my passion. I want to continue pursuing this thing. But as an entrepreneur, I wanted to start my own thing. And I didn't even have a single cent in my pocket to start my own radio. But as an entrepreneur, as I was saying, to bring the right team along, is to give them the vision, is to sell it to them. And then from there, once they come on board, we are Ringana, we are Bashashaya. Then you've got some sort of a pilot project. You test it out, you have a bonus, this is how you can make money. My pilot project was the DJ Spook Breakfast. Just an independent breakfast show, which had never happened in this country. You just have a show that does not broadcast on any radio station, but it's syndicated on, I was on Vuma FM, I was on Rise FM, I was on the internet. Basically, this internet boom that has been brought about by COVID-19, we saw it's coming. I remember at the time, Gareth was starting his own thing, Tito Touch was starting his own thing, and when we used to present to the agencies, they never got it. They were like, no, South Africa, no, the internet thing is still gonna come in 10 years time or 20 years time in South Africa, no. Right now, people are still on analog radio. They just give us crumbs in terms of advertising. But we're like, guys, it's the future. The world is evolving. Actually, we're one of the last people in the African continent who are not on the internet. Guys, look at Kenya. Guys, look at Rwanda. Guys, look at East Africa, etc., etc. But they couldn't see it. But then COVID-19 happened, and then as you can all see, the tide is starting to turn, and everybody's moving towards online and digital. And that's why right now we're starting our third media property, but only when you know I know then I've put together a team. I mean, if I look at Mofa, I think it's one of the most amazing things. Now, sometimes I can't believe that we pulled it off, you know. That's what happens as an entrepreneur. I didn't but now you're gonna surprise yourself in a couple of years' time. You're gonna look at yourself like, you start getting invited in these types of places. People are like, hey, you're an inspiration. Like, you know? But then, as I say, as you give it the focus, it grows, you bring in more people. Then there's the next phase where you have to upscale and corporatize this thing. Yeah. That's where we are right now. We're corporatizing more fire. We're doing really well. It's now, I think 100 or 200 million rand business. Wow. And it's well on its way to become a success.
I think that's fantastic. You want to add?
Yeah, just before I lose my train of thought, because he was speaking more of the points that, for example, we deal with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I always ask entrepreneurs, or the people, the startups, what is your definition of success? And a lot of people, even in life, they struggle to understand what is actually their purpose, or that definition of saying I'm a success, right? And if you look at the whole landscape, I'll tell you something. I'd like to give a story, if I'm allowed 30 seconds, a story that will show you that as an entrepreneur, you need to look at the bigger picture, because people get bogged down on the smaller things, but they don't understand the bigger picture, the purpose, right? That you spoke about while you drew how you will overtake the industry. There was a gentleman who used to be he used to work at a hardware store, right? An old man who used to work at a hardware store, right? So this old man that used to work at a hardware store, he had a hobby. His hobby was to build dog kennels. You know, where you host like houses, dogs sleep in the dog kennels, right? He used to build his dog kennels using wooden planks, right? So he asked his boss that, because there's wood cuts at the end that you don't use, can I take them every day? Because I've got this hobby of building dog kennels and I sell the dog kennels, right? The owner of the hardware store agreed. So every day he used to take a wheelbarrow and put this wooden planks, the cuts. Every day he took a wheelbarrow, put the wooden planks